Turkey doesn't ask to be taken seriously, it just is. A country that sits at the exact point where Europe runs out and Asia begins, where the same stretch of coastline has been fought over, settled, and named again more times than anyone has properly kept count of. There are mosques here that were once cathedrals. There are cities built on top of cities built on top of cities, each layer pressed down by the weight of the next. The food alone could justify the trip, but Turkey is so much more than its parts, and these are the 10 best places to go. Number 10. Antalya. Most visitors treat Antalya as a beach resort and nothing more, which means most visitors miss the point entirely. The old city, a tangle of narrow streets and crumbling Ottoman houses on a cliff above the harbor, has been inhabited continuously for over 2,000 years. The Roman harbor is still in use. The city walls still stand in large sections. Hadrian's Gate, built to mark the emperor's visit in 130 AD, frames a view of the old town that looks almost unchanged from any angle that doesn't include a parked car. Go in the shoulder season, when the tour groups thin out and the place starts to breathe again. Number 9. Mount Nemrut. Somewhere in southeastern Turkey, on the summit of a 2,150-meter mountain, there is a king's tomb surrounded by enormous stone heads. King Antiochus I of Commagene built this place for himself in the 1st century BC, and he didn't do it quietly. The statues of gods and eagles and lions he commissioned were originally over 8 meters tall. Earthquakes have toppled the heads from their bodies over the centuries, but they're still there, arranged in rows on the mountaintop, staring out over the surrounding valleys with the particular expression of things that have seen empires come and go. The sunrise here is not optional. Number 8. Ephesus. Ephesus was once one of the largest cities in the Roman world, a metropolis of over 250,000 people, a major port, the site of one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Today, it's an archaeological site 2 hours south of Izmir, and walking its marble streets is still one of the most startling experiences Turkey offers. The Library of Celsus, its facade reassembled from the rubble, looks almost as it did in the 2nd century AD. The Great Theater seated 25,000 people and still hosts concerts. What strikes you isn't that so much survives, it's how much was here to begin with. Number 7. Trabzon and the Black Sea coast. The Black Sea coast is the Turkey that most international tourists never see. The mountains here drop almost straight into the water, and the villages clinging to the slopes look like something from another country entirely. Trabzon was an empire's capital, the last remnant of Byzantium after Constantinople fell, lasting another 8 years before it too was gone. Inland from the city, the Sumela Monastery clings to a sheer cliff face at 1,200 meters, its frescoes still visible inside the rock face. its position still more or less impossible to explain without seeing it. Number 6. Pamukkale. There is a hillside in western Turkey covered in white terraced pools of mineral-rich water that look, from a distance, like a cascade of snow that has forgotten to melt. Pamukkale, Cotton Castle in Turkish, was formed over millennia by hot springs flowing over calcium-rich rock. People have been bathing here since at least the Greco-Roman period. Hierapolis, the ancient city at the top of the hill, still has its necropolis, its theater, and its own strange presence. The water is warm. Wading through the terraced pools at sunset, with the lights of the valley appearing in the distance below, is the kind of experience that's difficult to explain to anyone who wasn't there. Number 5. Bodrum. Bodrum has been cosmopolitan for a very long time. The ancient city of Halicarnassus, birthplace of Herodotus, the man sometimes called the father of history, once hosted another of the Seven Wonders, the Mausoleum of Mausolus, from which every mausoleum in every language since has taken its name. Today, the town is better known for its whitewashed houses, its marina, and the enormous Crusader castle of St. Peter that dominates the harbor. Go in June before the main season arrives, sit somewhere with a view of the castle at night, and try to remember that most of what feels eternal here was built by somebody, not very long ago at all. Number 4. Görem and Cappadocia. Cappadocia is the part of Turkey that looks as though someone told a landscape to be creative, and it took the brief too literally. Volcanic eruptions millions of years ago covered this region in ash and soft rock, and centuries of erosion carved it into forms that have no equivalent. Tall stone pillars called fairy chimneys, entire valleys of pale sculpted rock, cave churches cut by early Christians into the hillsides with frescoes still intact inside. People have been living in the rock here since the Bronze Age. The cave hotels are not a recent invention. And the hot air balloon flights at sunrise, when dozens of balloons float above the valleys in the early light, are as extraordinary as everything you've already seen in the photographs. Number 3. The Aegean Coast. The stretch of Aegean coastline between Bodrum and Cheshma, sometimes called the Turquoise Coast, is one of the most quietly beautiful pieces of shoreline in the Mediterranean. The water here is genuinely that color. Small fishing villages sit at the foot of hills covered in olive and pine. Ancient ruins turn up in unexpected places, a theater above the water, a temple half absorbed by a later mosque, a tomb carved into a cliff with an inscription nobody has fully translated. The gulet, a traditional wooden sailing boat, is the right way to move along this coast, slowly, with no particular schedule, stopping when something looks worth stopping for. Number 2. Izmir. Izmir is the most open, outward-looking, and arguably the most livable city in Turkey, and most visitors to the country pass through it on the way to Ephesus and barely stop. That's a genuine oversight. The waterfront promenade is one of the finest in the country. The bazaars of Kemeralty are the kind that reward getting genuinely lost in. The city has been a cosmopolitan trading port for thousands of years. It was called Smyrna when Homer may or may not have been born here, when Alexander the Great refounded it after a dream, when it was one of the wealthiest cities in the Ottoman Empire. What survived is still extraordinary. What the city has built since is worth your time as well. Number 1. Istanbul. No city in the world has been the center of more history than Istanbul, and that is not a claim made lightly. This city was the capital of the Roman Empire, then the Byzantine Empire, then the Ottoman Empire. For over 15 centuries, it was one of the most powerful and most consequential cities on Earth, and the evidence is everywhere. In the dome of the Hagia Sophia, which has been a church, a mosque, and a museum, and is a mosque again. In the ruins of the Hippodrome, where 100,000 people once watched chariot races. In the Grand Bazaar, which has been selling things continuously for over 550 years, in the way the city sits on its hills above the Bosphorus at dusk, the minarets rising against the last of the light, the call to prayer crossing the water from both sides at once. Istanbul is not like other cities. It is its own category entirely.